It's time now to welcome Prince Rupert's globe-trotting raconteur, the emigre with a pedigree, the one, the only master of the house, Keith Lambourne.
Whose bright idea was it to give out free beer before the show? That's what I want to bloody know.
I'm surprised you're up there still.
Oh, good. Politicians are in the house. Good evening, folks. I just want to let you know, firstly, that we're going to be employing Trump math this evening. So I'd like to welcome all 74,000 of you to the Leicester Centre. I'd like to manage expectations right from the start. If when you leave here, you say to your significant other, "What did you think of that?" and the response comes back, "I found it to be mildly diverting," then I will consider this to have been a job well done. George Bernard Shaw has a quotation which goes, "America and England are two nations separated by a common language." And I can assure Mr. Shaw that after 15 years of living in Canada, it's exactly the same north of the border. Fundamentally, I'm going to be telling stories this evening, and some of those stories focus on the differences between the English language and whatever the hell it is you've been speaking for the last 150 years. The first question I normally get asked is, what part of Australia do you come from? And over the years I've developed a standard answer, which is I come from the London, England part, and it's all good and people apologise and we move on. But there's always one. And this one was sitting next to me in a bar stool in Seattle about 20 years ago. Oh, by the way, this is the storytelling stool of truth. So anything I say to you while I'm sitting on this stool, it's probably true for a given value of the word true. Anything from the mic is complete bollocks. So I'm sitting in a Red Lion in Seattle about 20 years ago. There's an American fella sitting on a stool next to me, and there's an Irish fella sitting next to him, and the American says, "What part of Australia do you come from?" And I said, "The London, England part." And he said, "No, you don't." Which I found a bit odd, really. I think I should know where I come from. So I took umbrage at this, and I said to him, "Well, I can understand where you might get a little bit confused, because although I am actually born and raised in London, I spent most of my working career in the Highlands of Scotland working on a haggis farm. So it's quite possible that there's an amalgamation of those two accents which make it sound Australian. Tell me, do you know much about haggis?" Well, no, I can't say I do. Oh, they're fascinating creatures. They're amazing creatures. They're about this big and they're deadly. One end is all teeth. And they live in the Highlands in Scotland. And they've evolved over the millennia because they go round the mountain in this direction. But their inside legs are ever so slightly longer than their outside legs. Now, my job on the haggis farm is the second most dangerous job. Really, what's that? I'm glad you asked. I'm the chief booer. My job is to go up on the mountain and I lie in wait for the haggis. Well, to be perfectly accurate about this, they hunt in packs, so they're herds of haggai. So I'm lying in wait for the herds of haggai to come round, and at a strategic point, I leap out and I go, "Boo!" This causes the haggis to turn round. Now, of course, it can't grip onto the mountain properly. So it tumbles down the mountain, and waiting at the bottom of the mountain is the guy with the most dangerous job on the haggis farm, the chief netter. Now, the chief netter's job is to catch the haggis before they land on the ground, because you don't want to buy bruised haggis, do you? Well, no, I don't suppose I do. No, you don't. So he catches it. Now, the haggis is still alive, and it's rather upset about its recent change in circumstances. So it does its living best to maul the living daylights out of the chief netter. I wouldn't have his job for all the tea and he believed every word I said. And when he left, the Irish fella said to me, "Before you arrived, he asked me what part of Germany I came from." The late and very great Spike Milligan was once asked a similar question. Someone said, "Well, where do you live, Spike?" And he said, "London." I said, which part? He said, all of me. Now, so I'm leaving the storytelling stool of truth. So now it's like complete rubbish. Hey, any hecklers in the house? 2. Okay. Well, I'd like to reassure you, hecklers. 3 hecklers. I'd like to reassure you that you're welcome. And I'd like to let you know that the other 73,997 people here this evening paid their $150 for their ticket in the fervent hope and expectation that some unknown genius would start screaming obscenities into a darkened room. I have a favour to ask, however, before you commence. Could you ask the people around you whether or not they suffer from any medical conditions that you should be made aware of? Because if we have to employ the defibrillator, if we have to get out the defibrillator, if we use the paddles on someone at any point this evening, it might cast a slight pall on proceedings. Now, we're fundamentally a Canadian audience here, so I'm sure your innate politeness will come to the fore, and you'll say to the person sitting in front of you, "Hi, sorry to disturb you, sorry to disturb you." But I just wanted to let you know that very shortly I'm going to be hurling some rather inventive invective at the rotund gentleman on stage. And I just wanted to inquire as to whether or not you suffer from any medical conditions that I should be made aware of. And with a bit of luck, the person you talk to will say, "Actually, yes, I do, so shut the fuck up." But a couple of days ago before the show, someone came up to me in the street and said, "Keith, I'm looking forward to your show, it's going to be great. Is it okay if I heckle?" And I thought that was the most Canadian thing I'd ever heard in my life. If you need to ask that question, you haven't quite got the basics of how heckling works down pat, really. Thanks for the inquiry. If that person's here this evening, put your hand up first before you have a go. Now, as evidence already, there's going to be a little bit of swearing in the show. There's 2 main reasons for this. Reason 1, some of the stories I'm going to tell happened with swearing in them, so they don't work without that. And reason number 2 is I'm a working class lad from London town, and swearing was our default position when we grew up. In fact, I had to go to school to learn words that weren't swear words. And even then we cheated and we'd insert swear words into the poems in English class. I'll give you an example. A poem. You have to stand like this to deliver poetry. Poetry is the pizza of literature. It has to be delivered. I wandered lonely as a Clyde that floats on high, o'er vale and hill. That's proper literature, that. It's got an o'er in it. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high, o'er vale and hill, when all at once I heard a shout, "Get off my fucking daffodils!" as writ by Wordsworth. So everyone in London sounds like me. We all swear a lot, and everyone sounds like me, even the Queen. What you hear is her telephone voice. Every woman in Britain's got a telephone voice. That's not what she sounds like. She sounds like me. So if you phone Buckingham Palace, it's going to sound something like this. Ring, 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 ring. We spared no expense on the special effects for this show, folks. Ring, ring. Hello, Windsor One here. One speaking. Your Majesty, yes, good morning. It's Brigadier Tarquin Arsebender here from the loquacious order of the distended and bloated goat. One wonders if it would be possible to speak with Prince Philip. If one will hold for one, Brigadier, one will inquire. Oi, Phil, I've got that uphill gardener of a brigadier on the blower for you. I'm on the carsey, love. Tell the old git I'll call him back. You still on there? What, you reading the Daily Mirror again? Just tell him Oh, all right then. Well, all right, no need for that, is there? All right. Hello, Brigadier. Yes, HRH here. Prince Philip is having a massive shit at the moment. But once the log is down river, he will return your call. Yes, indeed. Yes, splendid. Love to Camilla. Yes, yes, yes. Bye, Brigadier. Bye, yes. What a wanker. Whoa. Now, it is not my intention to offend anyone this evening. I want to offend everyone. No. But I'm increasingly aware that we live in a society where taking offence has become something of a vocation. It might have started out as a hobby, but you're so dedicated to it now that you'll take offence at anything. So I want to get the being offended part out of the way early, and I want us to all get nice and offended together. Okay? So we can get it done and move on. So I'm going to recite another poem. You didn't know it was going to be as cultural as this, did you? Hey? I'm going to recite another poem, and then I'm going to break it down and let you know why we should all be dreadfully offended by the contents. Okay? Assume the position. Mary had a little pig. She taught it how to grunt. Oh, God, yeah, all right. That one in the middle there. But I'm aware of the fact, I've lived in Canada for 15 years, I'm painfully aware of the fact that you don't like the C word, okay, particularly in British Columbia. So I promise that for the entirety of the show, there'll be no mention of the Canucks. Because let's face it, they're a bunch of... A poem. Mary had a little lamb. She tied it to a pylon. 20,000 volts went up its arse and turned its wool to nylon. So what can you possibly take offence at in that? Well, let's break it down. Mary. It's clearly sexist. Why not marry us? Are not most shepherds men? Is this honestly indicative of the lamb herding community of the 21st century? Had. Capitalistic. It's not very kibbutzzy, is it, really? It's like lamb slavery or something. A. Anti-pluralistic. Little. Clearly sizist. There's no medium-sized or large-sized lambs in this production. Lamb. Porkist. What, we're going to typecast the pigs with the little huffing and the puffing with the wolves? I would contend that the pigs would smell better with 20,000 volts up their arse. Think of all that lovely bacon aroma. Sounds good to me. So, we're all nice and... Oh, sorry, the rest of the poem, I forgot about it. Mary had a little lamb. She tied it to a pylon. Anti-pipeline. Favouring the electricity industry over oil and gas, clearly. 20,000 volts went up its arse. Yeah, okay, that's just evil. And turned its wool to nylon. Anti-natural hemp-based products which make you look like you're wearing a burlap sack. So you see, if you try hard enough, you can be offended by anything. Another true story for you, but I need to set the scene for this one. I've got 3 dogs. I've got 2 golden retrievers and a Yorkshire terrorist. Oh, trust me, we named her Coco, but if I knew then what I know now, I would have called her ISIS. So, we've got a habit as human beings of imposing our emotions onto creatures. We're really, really good at it. Gary Larson, the Far Side cartoonist, once did a strip cartoon on golden retrievers called The Emotions of Golden Retrievers. And in the first frame, there was the standard picture of a golden retriever. And it said, golden retriever happy. And the next frame, it said, golden retriever sad. And exactly the same picture appeared. As it did for golden retriever hungry, golden retriever angry. golden retriever having a massive shit. Although there may have been an additional squint and perhaps a more studied concentration on the last one. His point, and my point, is that we're putting our human emotions onto animals. So why am I telling you this? Because a friend of mine was in Florida recently and he saw an item on a menu and he burst out laughing. Dolphin tacos was on the menu. So he calls a waitress over and asks her whether or not there's actually dolphin in these tacos. And the waitress has been asked this question a billion times before. So she says, no, sir, no, it's tuna or something like that. But he's still much amused, so he took a photograph of it and he posted it to the Book of Face with the legend, got to try me one of these. Oh my God, you'd have thought he'd killed a baby live on YouTube. The shit and abuse he got was unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. People were bombarding him with abuse, even after he put a disclaimer on there which said that no dolphins were harmed in the making of this taco. He still just kept getting abuse after abuse after abuse. And that tells us more about us than it does about dolphins, because are dolphins an endangered species? Not the last time I checked. The comments that he was getting was, oh, you brute. How can you harm our smiling, intelligent cousins? How can you eat flipper? My answer is probably medium rare with a nice bit of horseradish on the side, I'd imagine. There's billions of the buggers swimming around out there. There's billions of them. And what they're doing, see, what you're doing in your mind is you're saying they're down there communing with mermaids, having a macchiato latte and a vegan shake, planning their next vacation to Unicorn Land. They're not. They're not smiling. Evolution designed them to be the most effective killing shape possible. What they're actually doing down there is eating all the other fish that are in the ocean. And this genocide has been taking place for millennia, and you don't care because fish ain't cute like dolphins. And because they're so sexually promiscuous, they're riddled with sexually transmitted diseases. Your average dolphin's got more clap than Wheel of Fortune. They're the rats of the sea, the syphilitic rats of the sea. What do you think's going to happen when they run out of fish to eat? What's next on the menu? I'll tell you. Us. We're next on the menu. And the buggers have got collaborators on land too. Have you seen these meerkats? Yeah, another smiley, beady, insane little eyes. They're not standing up to look out for predators. That's perfect nut crunching height. They're just waiting for the word from the dolphin overlords before the dolphin Armageddon begins. But you can help. It's in your hands, it's in all of our hands to solve this problem. Very simple. Eat a dolphin a day for life. Save the dolphin? Fuck that. Eat them before they get us. A ripple of polite applause descended upon the land. Yeah, right. Yeah. Language isn't the only thing where we have communication problems. We have generational communication problems as well. And I don't know about you, but I used to find it quite difficult to talk to millennials. And the reason is because they never lift their head up from the damn phone that they've got. If they're a long way away from you, communication is easy. Send them a text, message on the Book of Face, send them a Donald, you can get hold of them. But if they're standing right in front of you, it's really difficult to get them away from that phone. I'm going to share with you this evening a surefire way of getting the attention of the millennial in your life. You're welcome. Because the traditional things that we would use, they simply don't work. The standard icebreakers, like, you know, did you see the Canucks this evening? Oh shit, sorry, I forgot. Sorry. What about them Blackhawks, eh? I see Fat Boy wiped Pyongyang off the face of the earth yesterday. Yeah. They reckon that the retaliation will render the eastern seaboard uninhabitable for 10,000 years. Yeah, it's good, yeah. There's a cat. Look at that. Did you know that cats could do that? I didn't know cats could. That's really interesting. Okay, it doesn't work. Here's what works. All right, how are you? I'm good, yeah. I don't recycle. And watch their heads go ping, like a scene out of Kingsman, Secret Service, with a nuclear thing coming out of the thing. They're now going to come at you with everything that they got. And this is the perfect time for you to get your cell phone out. What? Sorry? Yeah, selfish baby boomers. Yeah. What? Yeah. Squandered your inheritance. Yeah. Yeah, destroying the planet, mate. Yeah, shocking, yeah. Look, I'll tell you what. Why don't we discuss this over dinner? What about 7 o'clock? Does that work for you? Splendid. We're having dolphin. I've given up giving advice to people because, frankly, it's a waste of time. No one ever listens anymore. But if I was going to give one piece, it would be this. Lucy always moves the ball. You're Charlie Brown, life is Lucy, and Lucy always moves the ball. Now, I learned a lesson about generational communications very, very young in life. When I was about 8 or 9 years old, so around about 1971, my brother, yeah, I'm that old, it's amazing, but true, yeah. My brother Ken and I were playing football in our front yard. That's the game where you actually kick the ball with your foot, not what you call it. It makes no sense to me why you can't figure out a name which has more to do with the actual activity that takes place, to be perfectly honest with you. You could call it throw ball, chuck ball, concussion ball, gay rugby. You can call it all of those things and it would be more accurate. Anyway, I'm 8 or 9 years old. I've booted my ball over my neighbour's fence, Mr. Percival. And Mr. Percival came out with a garden fork and he put his garden fork straight through my ball, walked back in his house, closed the door. So I went in, told Mum. Mum went next door to Mr. Percival and she went up one side of him, down the other, and the upshot of it was we got a brand new ball. Now, I always thought that that was one of the meanest things that I've ever seen happen. And then I turned 50. And I thought to myself, I don't know, maybe Mr. Percival's got a point. I started wondering about the life that Mr. Percival had led in comparison to mine. I mean, Mr. Percival was, to my 8-year-old eyes, the oldest person that I'd ever seen. He was quite a tall old guy. He must have been about 70, 71, with a big white beard, and it was stained brown through years of tobacco smoke. And I'm guessing that when he was about 8 years old, he was probably a chimney boy. Now, back in the early part of the 20th century, if you had your chimney swept and you couldn't get everything down with the brushes, they'd send an 8-year-old child up to clear all the soot out. When he was a teenager, he probably got sent off to the trenches in the First World War, where he had to endure mustard gas and he had to shoot at other people that he didn't know, and he got shot at, I'm sure. He survived 1926, the Great General Strike and the Great Depression of the 30s. And then they gave him another gun in 1939 and told him to go and have another go at the Germans. And if he was too old to be conscripted, then he was in London during the Blitz. In the 50s, he would have endured rationing. And in the 60s, he would have retired on the basic state pension, which meant pretty much a lifetime of subsistence living. I was born in 1963, and when I was 8, my brother Ken and I used to go around our local neighbourhood with a bucket and wash cars. No one ever tried to put me up a chimney. When I was a teenager, I went to my first rock concert. I went to see Rush at Hammersmith Odeon in London. I had a job in the morning before school. I had a paper route, and in the evening I worked in a fishmonger's, Monday to Friday and all day Saturday. In the 1980s, we had the Falklands War, and although there was talk of conscription, it never actually came to pass. In the 90s, I had the opportunity to go back to school, which I took, and as a result of that, for the majority of the 21st century, I've earned an above-average income. I've travelled to a great many places and never been asked to kill any of the local inhabitants when I got there. So I look back now at Mr. Percival, and I look back through different eyes, and I think to myself, you miserable old bastard. I love that fucking ball. Something else that North Americans appear to think happens a lot when you visit London is we'll break out in spontaneous song and dance routines at the drop of a hat, from the 1969 hit musical Oliver by Lionel Bart. This is completely true. This actually happens all the time. To give you an example, when we were kids, it was all we could do to do anything else, but every 10 minutes we'd be breaking out in this. So a typical conversation between 9-year-old kids in London in about 1972 would go something like this. Hey, Billy, you coming to play football with me and Tosser? No, mate, no, Nudger. No, I ain't doing that anymore, mate. No, I'm done with that. What's the matter, Billy? Well, Nudger, mate, I'm the fat kid, ain't I? With glasses, right? So you pick me last, and then you put me in goal because you think I'm shit. Oh, Billy, mate, I didn't know you felt like that. Oh, goodness me, no, it's not like that at all, mate. We love you. You're our mate. You're our mucker, you is. Let me put it like this. Consider yourself our mates. Consider yourself part of the furniture. We've taken to you so strong. It's clear we're going to get along. And then round the corner comes 50 kids dressed in rags, barefoot. Daddly-dum-diddy-diddy-diddy-diddy, empty load of days, white grouse. Daddly-diddy-dum-diddy-doo-be-doo-be-doo, and the drinks are on the house. Consider yourself, consider yourself, consider yourself. One of us. Oh, thanks, Nudger. No problem, Billy. Now get in goal, you fat specky fuck. I'll tell you what, it's a difficult habit to get out of. I've lived in Canada for 15 years now, and even now, I still find myself breaking out in songs from Oliver. It's true. Oh, I'm not sitting there. It's probably not true. I'll give you an example. I go to the drive-thru at McDonald's, and that electronic voice thing says, like, "Can I take your order, please?" And I say, "Is it worth the waiting for? If we live to 84, all we ever get is gruel." But then what doesn't happen, unfortunately, is you don't get all them other kids joining in. There's not a crust, not a crumb, can we find, can we beg, can we borrow or catch? Well, there's nothing to stop us from getting a thrill when we all close our eyes and imagine. Big Mac, medium fries and a Coke, please. I'm very pleased to tell you that nothing's changed in London. It's exactly the same now. People break out in spontaneous song and dance routines all the time. but they've updated the musicals a bit for you. So if you visit London and you land at Heathrow Airport and you wait for the Americans to stop applauding, anybody know what that's all about? First time I flew into the States, I flew into JFK, the plane landed, and all the Americans on board were... So I asked the American lady sitting next to me, I said, why are you applauding? She said, well, we always applaud when the pilot lands the plane. I said, is that not part of his job? Do you applaud taxi drivers for dropping you off at the pub? Like, oh yeah, good bit of parking, mate. You don't, do you? I don't understand that. There's three basic components to being a pilot. There's the uppy bit, there's the alongy bit, and there's the downy bit. In Europe, if the pilot can't do any of those three basic fundamentals, we're not getting on the damn plane. I don't understand, this is weird. What does that job interview look like anyway? So you want to be a pilot, young man? Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, very much so, yes. Splendid chap, excellent, yes. 3 questions for you. Question number 1, what are you like at the uppy bit? Well, sir, top of the class, actually, sir, love it, sir, live for it, sir. Excellent at the uppy bit. What? The thrill, sir, the thrill of getting that behemoth off the ground, sir, safely to a cruising altitude of 38,000 feet is a joy, sir, that I live for. I adore it, sir. What a splendid young man. Question number 2. What are you like at the alongy bit? Proficient, sir. Yes, proficient. As you know, sir, most of the alongy bit is carried out by the autopilot chappie, George. Takes care of most of that, sir. But if there was an emergency, sir, at 38,000 feet, I would back myself, sir, British, stiff upper lip, what? To come to the fore in a crisis, sir, yes. Yes, proficient, sir, at the alongy bit. You seem to be exactly the sort of young man that we need in the service. One final question. What are you like at the downy bit? Well, I was rather hoping, sir, you weren't going to ask that particular question, sir. Yes, not actually very good at it at all, sir. No, nickname in flight school, sir, was the Fireball Kid. 1 out of 3, roughly, were successful landings, I'm afraid, sir. Well, no matter, there's a fully loaded 747 there going to Shanghai. Hey, 2 out of 3, that will do. It's not happening, is it, folks, all right? It isn't going to happen. I just don't know why they do that applauding thing. Something else that you're probably not aware of is that being on an aircraft is exactly the same as nuclear war. I could just leave it there, or I could explain it. Well, I'll explain it. As I said before, I was born in 1963, and it wasn't a matter of if we were going to have a nuclear war, it was a matter of when we were going to have a nuclear war. So the British government, in order to give us kids something to do, invented a program called Duck and Cover, which I believe you also had in North America. And the instructions were very simple. When the bomb started dropping, if you were indoors, you should duck underneath a table and cover yourself with a blanket, and you'll be fine. I never left the house without my Brezhnev blankie. This is actually it. This is my Brezhnev blankie. It's megaton proof. So when it's mocking laughter, what was that for? So here's what we do, right? The bombs start dropping under the kitchen table. And I taunt Brezhnev from here. Come on in, Leonid, you bollocks. You think you're hard enough to take me on, mate? Ha! I've got my Brezhnev blankie, mate. This is megaton proof, this puppy. You can't get to me under here. Right? if you were unlucky enough to be outside when the bomb started dropping, and you foolishly forgot to bring your Brezhnev blankie with you, the instructions were to lie in the gutter with your face turned in to the gutter and therefore away from the blast. And you would be fine. I have a vision in my mind of archaeologists 1,000 years from now seeing all these bones lined up in the gutter, all facing the same way, and them thinking, I wonder what they were looking for. It's exactly the same on aircraft. The bit where they say at the beginning, in the unlikely event, because for the nuclear thing, the only reason they told us to do all that nonsense was to give us something to do, all right? So we don't run around in quite justifiable pre-incineration panic. We can't be seen to act un-British. When you're on an aircraft, here's what they say to you at the start. In the unlikely event that the plane suffers from engine failure, please reach under your seat, grab hold of the cushion, bend over the cushion, and incidentally, the marketing department of airlines could do a better job of naming that than calling it the crash position. I'm just saying. Bend over the cushion, and then when we land safely on the ground, the crew will help you deplane. That's what they say. This is what they mean. A titter. This is what they mean. In the event of catastrophic engine failure, this tub will become the most unaerodynamic glider in the history of aviation. We will begin at 38,000 feet, but we will very rapidly descend through the skies towards the very, very hard ground a very long way away. We're all fucked, but we want you to stay in your seat so we can identify your remains from the DNA later on. So you've landed at Heathrow Airport, the Americans have stopped applauding, you're in baggage reclaim, and to make the 2 hours that you're there fly by, the cast from Les Miserables will appear and they'll give you a quick rendition of Master of the House. This will help take your mind off the fact that the cast from Oliver just picked your pocket. Little things are different, folks. Little things. If you're in London, buying a cup of coffee looks like this. Hello, mate, can I get a coffee? Milk and sugar? Just milk, please. There you go, that'll be £1. Thanks, mate. And you got a coffee. The whole pleasant social interaction took around about 30 seconds, and you walk out with the most disgusting cup of coffee you will ever buy in your life, because we cannot make coffee. We are crap. Thank you. I know, that's why I bloody said it. Was that it? That was the heckle? Jesus Christ. True. However, if you want a cup of tea, we will make you the snobbiest cup of tea on the planet. But please, and I mean this from the heart of my bottom, when you visit England, don't try and make tea yourself. You will become the butt of all jokes, the source of much amusement, and your self-confidence will plummet to the levels where your inexorable decline towards a life of crime is assured. And you will end up before a judge at the highest court in the land, at the Old Bailey. And it will not end well for you. Here come the judge. Here come the judge. I've got 2 props. This is it. A blanket and a wig I got from Alison O'Toole. Thanks, Alison. The shoes ain't a prop, mate. You can't afford to buy them. Not on your fucking wages. Okay. Nice try, though. Hey. OK, here comes the judge. Carruthers, what is this miserable scrap of humanity before me for? My lord, the defendant is accused of making tea without first warming the pot. And, my lord, and one can barely bring oneself to say this, he used something called tea bags. Tea bags, Carruthers? Indeed, my lord. Is he British? Canadian, my lord? Is that some sort of an American? They do sound like the rebels, my lord, but they are in fact subjects of Her Majesty. One would think he would know better then. You know, Carruthers, I had one of those Americans in my dock only last week. Really, my lord, what was he accused of? Being American sufficed, Carruthers. He asked me the most extraordinary question. He asked me whereabouts in Australia I came from. Really, my lord, and what was your sage and august response? Well, Carruthers, I ordered him transported to Australia and advised him that upon arrival he begin to pay attention. Very wise, Your Honour. And about the teabag matter. Yes, indeed. Tell me more, Carruthers, about these Canadians. My lord, one is led to understand, and it is difficult to give credence to such a ludicrous suggestion, that they live in peace on the same piece of land as the French. Slay him and all of his descendants, Carruthers. Windswept and interesting. Thanks, Billy. So, buying a cup of coffee in England, very simple. Buying a cup of coffee in North America, oh my God. Can I get a coffee, please? Do you want latte, mocha, affogato, ristretto, cappuccino? I want a coffee, not a fucking opera. But, sir, you're holding up the line. Do you want an Americano? Oh, I guess, yeah, all right, yeah. That'll be $5, please. Thanks very much. So I'm going to round off the first half, and then you can go and get some more of that free beer and work on better heckles than true. True. Goodness me. Was it you that said to me in the street, is it okay to heckle the other day? This is a story about me in America. I was in a wonderful place. I was in Flagstaff in America. Apparently, I can't even order lunch in the USA. I've stopped at this diner, and I wasn't ravenous hungry bear. I was just a little bit hungry bear. So I go in the diner, and the waitress comes over, and she says to me, "What can I get you?" And I said, "I'll have the club sandwich, please." And she said, "Would you all like fries, soup, or salad with that?" And I said, "I don't want fries, soup, or salad, love. I'm not ravenous hungry bear. I'm just a little hungry bear. So I'll just have the sandwich, please." Did not compute. So she asked the same question, only louder and slower. Which is brilliant, because that's exactly what British people do when we're abroad and we want to communicate with the locals. We know in our heart of hearts that everyone else on the planet can speak and understand English. You're just not trying hard enough. So if you've got a married couple in Rome, the husband might go up to a native of Rome and say, "Excuse me, mate, can you tell me where the Colosseum is?" And the response he may get is, "Scusi, non comprende inglese, signor." This is his response, guaranteed. This is what he'll say. Yeah, very good, Manuel. Manuel, yes, yes. Very good. I've got this, love. Don't worry, I've got it. He understands, he does. Very good, Manuel, yeah. Where is the Colosseum, menini? Oh. Where's the Colosseum, mate? Where's the Colosseum? So you might get a response like this. Tu sei bastardo folipazzo bella la testa in un gabinetto de ranne, which Google Translate assures me means, you crazy mad bastard, go and boil your head in a toilet bowl full of frogs. But this is what the British guy's going to hear. He said it's that way. Because it doesn't make any difference if you subscribe to the many worlds theory, where there has to be a universe somewhere where every single thing that can possibly happen will happen. It doesn't count for British men abroad on vacation, because you will never find a British man admit that he's wrong about anything when he's in a foreign country, as you lot know, because you've been putting up with me for 15 years. Anyway, back to Flagstaff. So she says, do you want fries, soup or salad? I can do this, I'm British. I don't want fries, soup or salad, love. I just want the sandwich. It doesn't cost any extra money, honey. The money don't enter into it, love. I'm just a little hungry bear, not ravenous hungry bear, and I really, really, really only want to have the sandwich. Are you sure? Do I sound sure? You do. Then I'm sure. Okay. What can I get you to drink? I'll have an orange squash, please. So off she goes. She don't say a word. She gives my order to the kitchen. Now, in England, orange squash is a cordial drink. Like you've got Ribena, like a blackcurrant cordial, where you'll put a little bit in the bottom of a glass and then you'll fill it up with the rest up with water. It's like that, but it's orange. Actually, it's a shame, isn't it, that an entire rather jolly colour has been ruined through association. So my sandwich arrives, and on the side of the plate is this mashed up, orange, fibrous, baby food shit. So I said, excuse me, love, where's my orange squash? She said, it's on your plate. So I explained the difference, and we had a really good laugh about it, and it was all good, and it was evidence of the fact that we are indeed two nations separated by a common language. Folks, I have more for you in the second half. Apparently there's free beer, so while you're sitting here looking at me while there's free beer, I have no idea. I'll see you back here in 20 minutes.
Let's hear a raucous Prince Rupert welcome back for Keith Lambourne.
It's a definition of the word raucous that I'm unfamiliar with. Meanwhile, back at Buckingham Palace. Ring, 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 special effects. Ring, 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 ring. Hello, Windsor One. One speaking. Your Majesty, good morning. It's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau here. By the way, the people that phone the Queen, they put on a posh voice as well. It's my way of getting around the fact I cannot do a Canadian accent. I just can't. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau here. Yeah, yes, Canada, yes. Yes, the bit above the rebels, Your Majesty, yes, yes. Where Prince Philip shot the polar bears, yes, yes. Your Majesty, one wonders if one may speak with Prince Philip. Yes, young man, a modicum of advice. Don't try the oneing. The oneing is for one, not just anyone. Now, what did you wish to speak with his royal nibs abate? Well, Your Majesty, I legalised marijuana as he asked. And I was wondering next time you visit, whether he wanted to visit my basement suite and have a toke with me. I brought Bat Out of Hell on vinyl too. If one will hold for one will inquire. Jesus. Oi, Phil. It's Boy Wonder from Canada. Yeah, him with the hair and the teeth. Yeah. He wants to know, next time we visit, whether you want to pass the duchy on the left-hand side with him. I'm on the carsy knocking one out. Tell him, is his dad going to be there? Because if he is, can you ask him to bring Keith with him? Because that boy's always got some quality shit. Phil, I don't know what to do with you sometimes, mate. I swear to fucking God. His old man snuffed it years ago, didn't he? What? Mick Jagger's dead? I thought I'd wait a little bit longer just in case there was that guy in the room. No one tells me fuck all these days. I didn't know he was dead. Hello, Prime Minister. Yes, Prince Philip can't come to the phone at the moment. He's having a wank. However, he'll be delighted to come over and have a spliffing good time with you. What? See what I did there? Oh, good Lord. HRH humour. Next time we visit, yes. Yes, indeed. Yes. Love to whatever your wife's name was. Yes. Farewell. Yes. Bye-bye. Bye. God, what a tosser. I've been lucky in my life, in a lot of ways, but I've been lucky to have known some really, really good storytellers over the years. And there's one that stands out for me, which was a dear, dear friend of mine called Nobby Roker. And Nobby, well, they're about the same size, but Nobby didn't have as much hair. Now, sadly, Nobby's with Jesus now. He's not dead, he moved to Mexico. No, I'm kidding, he's dead. By the way, all that bullshit about Trump being scared of Muslims, and that's what the Muslim ban's all about, it's fake news. He's not scared of Muslims, he's terrified of Christians. Why else is he building a wall to keep 70 million people called Jesus away from him? So Nobby Roker, he's a little London fella, got a bald head, and he worked as a rigger on TV and movie sets. And he told me this story. He said, I was doing this Rice Krispies commercial, Keith, with this knobhead actor geezer, and he kept telling me about all the people that he'd ever worked with. And he was like, when I was working with Sean Connery this, and Julia Roberts that, and George Clooney the other. He said, we're filming a fucking Rice Krispies commercial. This is the pinnacle of this wanker's career, all right? So I got the hump with him. So I told him this story. I said, I wasn't always a rigger, you know. In fact, there was a moment there back in the 60s when I could have been the next Paul Anka. I said, really? Upon my word and soul, yes, it's true. I had a number one hit record in 1964, but unfortunately it was a one-hit wonder, so here I am talking to you. And the weird thing is that the B-side became more popular than the A-side. So the guy says to him, well, what was the record called? He said, well, the A-side was called It Gets Hard When I Think of You. So he said, what was the B-side called? He said, Hold the Candle, Mother, While I Shave the Chicken's Lips. God bless you, Nobby. Now, as most of you in this room are aware, I'm married to a Canadian girl, and we were discussing our honeymoon before we got married, and we decided on the Cook Islands, which is a paradise island, set of islands off the coast of New Zealand, with long, empty, golden, private beaches upon which much energetic and enthusiastic honeymoon-type behaviour can ensue. But my mum and some of my friends, but not all of my friends and family, came over to Canada for the wedding. And so after the wedding, my newly installed Minister of Finance and War said to me, can we go to London instead for our honeymoon? She'd never been. And I can meet the rest of your friends and family. The Cook Islands, a private beachfront villa, my mum's spare room, 8 foot by 6 foot, and has got paper thin walls. So I did what every other husband in this room would have done. I sternly put my foot down and booked 2 return tickets to London. We hadn't been there that long when Susie got introduced to the British sense of humour by a London taxi driver. She'd never been in a black London cab before, so we jumped into one. And she very excitedly said to the driver, "This is my first time in a black London taxi." And the driver said, "Me too." But we've been in London for about 4 days. And she said to me, "I've got something to tell you, but I don't want to upset you." So a million thoughts cascade through my mind. And she says, "I can't understand anything anyone's saying." Some bits I get, but it's like they're speaking a foreign language. So I said, well, can you understand me? She said, "You became incomprehensible 10 minutes after the plane landed at Heathrow Airport." And the Americans stopped clapping. So I kind of worked it out. I kind of worked out what happened. We have a separate language in London, and it's called rhyming slang. And what we do is we take 2 words that have absolutely nothing to do with each other, and we put them together to describe a 3rd word, which has nothing to do with the other 2 words. I've no idea why you find this so complicated. I have nothing to do with the other 2 words at all. And I say it's a separate language, but it's actually integrated in our everyday speech. So I'm going to give you some examples of what rhyming slang sounds like. The rubber dub is the pub. The frog and toad is the road. Your plates of meat are your feet. Would anyone care to have a stab at what a Richard III is? Anyone? It's a turd. Thank you very much. It's a turd. So I taught Susie a rhyming slang sentence so that she could communicate with, London, all 10 million of us. And now I'm going to teach it to you. Dwayne, can you have the house lights up just for a second there, mate, please? I like to see what I'm eating. Okay. So, I need you to repeat after me. Okay? I was walking down the Frog and Toad. Preferably in time with the other people that are in the room. You got to do that again, right? Walking down the Frog and Toad. Down. So I was walking down the Frog and Toad. That's not bad. On me plates of meat. On me way to the rubber dub. When I stepped in a Richard III. You are now fit to be allowed entry into London, but if you use that particular sentence, people are going to think you're a little bit strange. But it gives you an idea about that sort of communication. Thanks, you can put the house lights down. I got scared witless then, Dwayne. Now, it's interesting the way the British sense of humour travels. As I said, I've travelled a lot. And the following story, I'm assured, is a true story. It's not one of mine. But it's one of those stories I don't care if it's true or not, because it's just so funny. There's a DJ in Australia, and he's on the radio, and he's opened up a competition, and he wants people to phone in with new words and what they mean. So he opens up the contest, the phone rings, and the guy phones up and he says, yeah, I've got a word for you, mate. He said, yeah, what's that? He said, GAN. I said, well, I haven't heard of that one before. So how do you spell it? He said, G-A-A-N. GAN. Okay, what does it mean? He said, GAN, fuck yourself. Hung up the phone. So the DJ spends the next 20 minutes telling people that it's live radio and that there are consequences to swearing on live radio and please don't do it again. And after 20 minutes, he reopens the phone lines. And this guy phones up and he says, yeah, I've got a word for you, mate. I said, yeah, what's that? He said, SME. I said, how do you spell it? He said, S-M-E-E, SME. I said, what does it mean? He said, SME again, go and fuck yourself. So the British sense of humour travels really well around the world. But for me, the country that gets it the most is Australia. And I've got two brothers. I mentioned Ken earlier. I've got another one called David. And he's 14 years younger than me. And when he was doing his degree in agricultural land management, whatever that is, he went on a 6-month secondment to Australia to a sheep farm in the outback. And not a haggis. No, we're on sheep now. Pay attention. We've had lamb, pigs, dolphins, retrievers, Isis the dog, and we're now on Australia, and we're on sheep. So my brother is on this secondment for 6 months. He's been there a week. Friday night turns up. He walks into the only pub there is for hundreds of miles around with the rest of his sheep shearing mates. He goes up to the bar and he orders a drink. And there's a guy sitting on the bar stool next to him who unfolds himself from the stool and he looks down at David, who's 6'1" himself, and he says to him, what the fucking hell are you doing here, you pommy bastard? So this is what my brother told me went through his head. He said he's looking up and he went, well, the first thing is I'm dead because this guy's massive. What am I going to do? I'm here for 6 months. I'm here for 6 months. I can't let him get away with this, but what am I going to do? I can't hit him. I could hit him for a fortnight with an hammer and nothing would make any difference. What am I going to do? I'm going to do this. So he ignored the guy. He stood on the guy's bar stool and he shouted down the entire pub. And he said, this mutant over here, Mongo the fucking Magnificent, has just asked me, what the fucking hell am I doing here, you pommy bastard? And so I want to tell you all at once, because I know how stupid you all are, and I don't want to have to repeat myself. I'm on a mission from the Queen. She sent me over to find out if you fuckers have eaten each other yet or not. Gets back off the bar stool, expecting to die. And Mungo the Magnificent said to him, oh, fair play to you, mate, would you like a beer? And that's typical of the relationship that Australians and the English have. I was in Adelaide, I was in PJ O'Brien's, I'd met an Australian guy at the cricket, and we went back for a beer, and we were having a typical English-Australian conversation. I was calling him a convict who couldn't be trusted, and he was calling me a stuck-up English twat who's got a stick up my ass. This is polite conversation between Australian people and English people. Behind me, I overheard an American guy say to his wife, I think we better leave. I think there's going to be a fight in a minute. This is going to get out of control. No, it isn't. It's just the way we communicate with each other. Now, my other brother, Ken, he of the football, and Mr. Percival earlier, he's a fashion Nazi. He's only a year younger than me, but he wears clothes and he looks magnificent in whatever he's wearing. Not like myself. No, I am the Thank you for leading up to the second line in the story. We went back for my nephew's wedding recently, and a couple of years ago, we had to wear the same suit. He looked like Jean-Paul Belmondo in a 1960s French movie with subtitles called Le Cool. And I look like a sack of shit tied up in the middle. Biggest applause of the night was I look like a sack of shit tied up in the middle. That's me in my sartorial elegance day, yes. Now, it's perfectly okay to hate Ken, it really is. When we were teenagers, I hated going to clubs with him because every girl in the club would walk straight past me, drop their handbag off with me, and make their way to my very stylishly turned out brother. And they'd flock like flies around extremely well turned out and stylish shit to get close to the boy. And it drove me crazy. I wanted sex as well. He got all of it. I hate him. It's okay to hate him. Here's the other thing. Here's a reason why you should hate my brother Ken, right? Every guy in here now, right? When you walk out of here, you're going to remember one thing, and that is, I hate that Ken. I don't think I've ever met him, and I might not ever meet him, but I really fucking hate him, I'll tell you. He's the only man I've ever met, the only married man who, when he gets ready to go out for an evening with his wife, leaves the house wearing the first thing that he tries on. There's no other married man in the history of the universe that's ever done that. I certainly don't. It's never happened to me, not once. His wife don't even look at him. She knows he's going to look absolutely fantastic. He tries something on, he walks out the door, he's done. It's not the same for me. And what's interesting is the way that the message, the delivery of the message has changed over the years. Because after the first year, the comment would be something like, do you think the purple shirt goes well with those trousers? So, well, yeah, I thought it looked pretty good. So, okay, I just wondered whether you thought that the black shirt might go better. So I wear the black shirt. 5 years later, I thought we were being sensible today. Really? The purple shirt? 10 years later. No. 15 years later. You're having a fucking laugh. You're having a giraffe, you are, aren't you? You ain't going out with me looking like that. What's this? I'm assured by people that I know that have been married for 25 years, that's the cut-off point. They don't care what you wear after 25 years. You want to go out with your trousers up to your tits, wearing Santa Claus braces and your dinner all down your shirt, you fucking fly at it, son. I give up on you. I am working towards that day. I'm about halfway there. So given this set of circumstances, given the fact I am acknowledged as having zero fashion sense whatsoever, none, why in God's name is my opinion sought about what she should wear before she leaves the house? What could possibly go wrong? I promise you one thing, whatever it is I pick, that's not what she's leaving the house wearing. That's not going to happen. Another true story, and then I'm going to get on with some more nonsense. This one's, I struggled to decide whether or not to share this one with you. But I decided, yeah, screw it, why not? Why not? We've all done things in our time, and we've had thoughts and actions which we're not proud of, and that we look back with a certain amount of embarrassment. And I'm guilty all the time of laughing at things that I shouldn't laugh at. There was a thing on the internet a couple of weeks ago that said, old MacDonald had Tourette's. E-I-E-I, fuck! And you're all going to hell with me that laughed at that one as well. I know I shouldn't have laughed at it. I laughed my arse off. I couldn't help it. So this particular story happened when I was about 26 or 27 years of age. I'm in London. I'm in a part of London called Dean Street on Soho, and I've stopped to pick up 20 Benson and Hedges and a Racing Post from a newsagent's. And it was a beautiful summer's day. I'm not allowed to smoke. It's a company car inside the car. So I've got the door open, and I've got one foot up on the sill, and I'm leaning on the roof, smoking my fag. Oh, that normally gets like, oh, he said fag. I'm smoking my fag. I'm just looking off into the middle distance. I'm not really thinking about anything much at all, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm just away with the fairies. And walking around the corner came this young lady. And I saw her, and there was something wrong with her. She had a malady. Her left leg was slightly inward, and she had a sort of slightly raised shoulder. And the first thought I had was, I wonder if there's anything I can do to help her. And she was walking a three-legged dog. So I saw the three-legged dog, and I just lost it. I just burst out fucking laughing. And in the space of 3 seconds, all of the following happened in 3 seconds. I burst out laughing. I felt so ashamed of myself for laughing that I stopped myself immediately, which meant that a noise that no human being has ever made before loudly emitted from my body, and my body itself decided to leave the scene of the crime and hurl itself full length into the car. So she walks into the newsagents. I'm lying in the car, prostrate in the car, thinking to myself, you are the biggest twat in this or any other universe. I've got to do something to make this up to her, even though she's probably got no idea at all what just took place, none whatsoever. I have to make this up to her somehow. So I extricated myself from the vehicle, and I waited for her to come out of the newsagents. And I said to her, hi, what's your name? And she said, my mum and dad told me I shouldn't talk to strangers and give my name out to people I don't know. Oh, great. I'm a fucking stalker now. I'm standing there with the car door open, asking a 16-year-old girl what her name is. So I said, and you're quite right, love, they're quite right, you shouldn't, and I'm so sorry. Look, the only reason I ask is there something I can do? Is there something that you need? Is there something I can do for you? And she gave me a kind of quizzical look, and she said, no, it's all good. So I said, okay, well, enjoy your day, have a nice day. And I went to get back in my car, and I said to her, what's the name of your dog? And she came up to me, and she stopped about 3 feet in front of me. And she looked me straight in the eyes, and a beautiful smile came over her face. And she said, Stumpy. She's daring me to laugh. She knows exactly what that pantomime I was going through was all about, exactly. And she was kind-hearted and big enough to deal with it with a good British sense of humour. We both burst out laughing at the same time, right? We really did. But she then walked towards me, and she grabbed hold of my tie, and she gently pulled me down to her level, and she kissed me, just on the cheek, right there. And she whispered in my ear, Abigail. And then she picked her dog, and she left, walked round the corner, and I never saw her again. But I've never forgot Abigail. Through the following 27 years, she left an indelible mark on me. Some of the small things leave a mark on you, but it doesn't appear to have made a difference to me laughing at the Tourette's fucking joke. So I'm not entirely certain how much of an influence Abigail had. We're back at the microphone of bollocks. Meanwhile, back at Buckingham Palace, you want to have a guess who's calling now? Correct. Ring, ring, ring. Yeah, ring, ring, ring. Yeah. Hello, Windsor One. One speaking. Hey, you Madge. It's President Donald Trump here. I was wondering, when I come over for my state visit, if and I can get 10 minutes alone with that there Prime Minister of yours, Theresa May. I think she'd enjoy a staycation on the end of my Johnson, if you know what I mean. One has no idea what you mean, and one cherishes one's ignorance. May one assume from your disgraceful and mangled attempt to speak my language that you seek coitus with my Prime Minister? Well, ma'am, if you mean do I want to bang her until her head comes off, then yes, I do. Well, as luck would have it, Phantom Man, the Prime Minister's with me at the moment. If you'd care to hold, for one will inquire. Oi, trees. Yeah, I got the Orange Wonder on the fucking phone here. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell the two apart. He's either the American bloke or the North Korean bloke. I'm not entirely certain. I think it's Trumpet. Trumpet? Is that the bloke? I have to get head of the rebels. Head of the rebels, that geezer. Trumpet, yeah, all right. Listen, love, he wants to jump your bones when he comes over here on his visit next month. Fuck that. I'd rather go down on Merkel than have that fat, flabby fuck anywhere near my Auntie Rita. Hey, Queenie, can we, disappear the twat while he's over here or something? Do the world a favour? Trees, have you lost the fucking plot or what? I despair about you, girl, sometimes. I really do. He's doing a great job for us over there. Another 4 years of that idiot, and the rebels will be begging to get back in the fucking empire. If he didn't exist, I'd have to fucking invent him, wouldn't I? Sort yourself out, girl. Jesus Christ. Yes, hello, President Bloater. It's HRH here, yes. Yes, regrettably, my Prime Minister would rather seek Congress with an enraged boar than have your minuscule tool anywhere near her. Yes, regrettably, I will be seeing you soon, yes. Well, if one may ask one small favour, can you not put the napkin in the collar next time you visit? Thank you so much, yes. Farewell, yes, good, yes, yeah. No, fuck off now, thank you, goodbye. Wanker. The British sense of humour has been marked by a great many things over the years. Recently, the Royal Navy commissioned a new frigate, and they made the mistake of asking the great British public for their opinion as to what this brand new, sleek killing machine should be called. And the British public overwhelmingly voted for Boaty McBoatface. Don't ask the question if you're not going to like the answer. British sense of humour pervades all aspects of British society, and I'm going to tell you about an unusual one. There's an organisation in England called Weatherby's, and part of their remit is to examine the names of horses that are put forward to be racehorses in the UK to make sure that the names are not indecent. Sometimes they catch them and sometimes they don't. Examples of horses who actually raced under the following names include Hoof-Hearted, Effin' Mental, because when the trainer took one look at the horse, he said, "That is a fucking mental horse." So Effin' Mental got through. Wear the fox hat. If you say it in your head quickly with an Irish accent, you might, wear the fox hat. And my favourite that got through the censorship process was a horse called Jafika. J-A-F. Have you heard this? Do you know about Jafika, love? I've got another horse racing fan, great. Jafeica. Now, this horse won quite a valuable race at Doncaster, live on Channel 4 Racing one afternoon, and Derek Thompson from Channel 4 Racing interviewed the owner of the horse in the paddock afterwards and said to him, we've got a bit of a bet going on in the crew as to what Jafika actually means. I think I've got a £5 bet that it's an Arabic word for peace. Can you settle the bet for us? And the owner said, well, yeah, I can, but it's not that, mate. That's bollocks, that, isn't it? This is live. on the Channel 4 racing. That's bollocks, that is, mate. That's nothing to do with that. He said, I made it up. I just made it up. It's an acronym. Oh, shouldn't have asked the next question. What's it an acronym for? Just another fucking expense I can't afford. They went to commercial like really quickly after that. Now, regrettably, Weatherby's are actually quite good at their job. So, examples of horse race names that were submitted but were not allowed, so they never raced under this name, include Harry Balls, Hugh Janus, Choke the Chicken, wait for it, Cunning Stunt. This is a true story. And my favourite of all time, and the imagination this took is astonishing. I just need to set the scene a little bit. In England, there's a county on the east coast of England, and it's called Norfolk, Norfolk, and it's a beautiful place. It's a very rural place. It's lovely countryside. In fact, if you were to describe Norfolk as being enchanting, then you would be an accurate description, which is what the owner of this horse tried to do. He tried to get the name Norfolk Enchants. Through as a name for the horse. Regrettably, it never ran. But I've always wanted to know what would happen if those horses were all in a race together. And I think it would look something like this. Well, good afternoon and welcome to Newmarket for the feature race of the day, the 3 o'clock Minging Handicap Stakes over 7 furlongs. The horses have been in the paddock and our paddock commentator, Declan O'Declan, has cast his expert eye over the field. Declan, is there anything that stands out? Well, Peter, Harry Balls was sweating off a bit. No one can quite seem to find where the fox at. And Norfolk Enchants is quite possibly the ugliest horse I've ever seen in my life. But the undoubted star of the paddock today, Peter, is Cunning Stunt. Her short hair is glistening in the afternoon sunshine here at Newmarket. And her beautifully manicured eyes have a come-hither look to 'em. Her withers are magnificent, and oh my God, Peter, I'd mount her myself. She'll take a deal of beating here today, I tell you. Rather think Declan should go lie down for a while. Anyway, the horses are at the post, and they're being loaded up. Choke the Chicken is reluctant to go into stall 7. And Norfolk Enchants has gone into stall 4 backwards. They're under starter's orders, and they're offed. It's a fairly even break, except for Norfolk Enchants, who's gone in completely the wrong direction. Settling down through the first furlong, Harry Balls leads from Where the Fox Hat, Hugh Janus, and Who Farted. Cunning Stunt comes next, followed by Effin Mental and Jafika. Choke the Chicken jockey has a tight hold on the reins at the back of the field. And whilst Norfolk Enchants' jockey has got his horse turned in the right direction, he spent the first furlong going the wrong way. Coming to the halfway stage, and Cunning Stunt is getting closer to Harry Balls. Who Farted and Hugh Janus are neck and neck. The pace is proving too strong for Where the Fox Hat, who's disappearing from view. Next comes Effin Mental and Jafika. Choke the Chicken's jockey's beginning to unleash his run. Norfolk Enchants is living up to his name. We're coming down to the final furlong, and I'll hand over the commentary to Declan O'Declan. Well, Peter, I think we got a really exciting finish on our hands here. 2 have come clear of the field. It's Cunningstont and Who Farted. Who Farted and Cunningstont, they're not in it, they're neck and neck. Who Farted Cunningstont inside the final half volley. Wait, what's this coming down on the outside? I don't believe it. It's no fucking chance. No fucking chance is absolutely flying down the outside. They're in the shadow of the post. 100 yards to go. Cunningstont, Who Farted, Cunningstont. They flash past together and the winner is. No fucking chance. Has got up to beat Cunningstont and Who Farted. I had to be really careful with that one. Very shortly, I'm going to tell you all the reason you're all here is to hear the funniest joke in the world. Before I do, there's one final thing that I just got a little bit of a moan about. I've been here 15 years, and one thing that never seems to get old is your desire to mimic my accent. It amuses me so much, I can't begin to tell you. A cavalcade of stunningly funny people coming before me all the time, saying, all right, geezer, lovely jubbly, sorted. Yeah, it never, ever gets fucking old. Now, that's fine. This is your lump of land. You do what you like on it. But I plead, I beg, that if you visit London, don't mimic the accents of the working class people in London. Because if you do, you'll become the butt of all jokes, the source of much amusement, and your self-confidence will take such a hit that you will have an inexorable spiral downwards towards the life of crime. And you will end up before a judge at the highest court in the land, at the Old Bailey. And it will not end well for you. Wardrobe. Carruthers, why is this miserable wretch before me? My lord, the defendant is accused of mimicking a working-class London accent. And, my lord, for reasons that escape everyone, he was standing outside Buckingham Palace, wielding a chimney brush. Carruthers, perchance, were the words chim, chim, chiree uttered at any point. My lord, not only were they uttered, but they were sung rather lustily outside the gates of Buckingham Palace. And, my lord, upon further questioning by Inspector Knacker of the Yard, the defendant averred a lifetime's longing and love and admiration for the performance of one Dick Van Dyke in the musical Mary Poppins. Is he British, Carruthers? Canadian, my lad? Has he showed any sign of remorse for this heinous crime whatsoever? My lad, he informs us that where he comes from, this is considered to be the height of sophisticated humour. And from whence does this carbuncle on the arse of humanity hail, Carruthers? Prince Rupert in Canada, my lad. Sounds regal enough. Surely there's some hope for redemption, what? Well, one did take the liberty, my lad, of checking to see if there was any hope of redemption, and in fact, Prince Rupert in question was responsible for saving the Royalists in Newark in 1645. Then clearly he's insane and he needs our help rather than our approbation. imprison him until his toenails reach the length of 5 cubits, and then send him to Australia to find that American gentleman and ask him if you can tell the fucking difference yet. All right, I'm done except for one more thing. Never knowingly undersold. Here comes the funniest joke in the world. Oh no. Some people have heard it. True story, Susie just left. I don't even need to look. She's heard this joke so many times, she fucking hates it. But apparently I'm a legend in Montenegro because of this joke, so I'm going to tell it because I love it. It's the funniest joke in the world. There's a wino walking along a beach, and he sees a bottle, picks it up, rubs it, boop, genie pops out of the bottle. And the genie says to the wino, "Effendi, you have 3 wishes." And straight away, the wino says, "I want a case of wine this big." There's a case of wine on the beach. So the wino starts getting torn into the wine, and the genie says, "Oh, master, what would you like for your second wish?" And the genie says, "I've always wanted to own a big white horse." Boop. There's a big white horse standing on the beach. And the genie looks at the wino and he says, "I'm not entirely certain that you grasp the gravity of the opportunity that lies before you here. You've got 1 wish left. I suggest you think very carefully before you tell me what your 3rd and final wish is." So the wino thinks for a second, then he says to the genie, "I'll have a chipmunk." Boop. It's a pet chipmunk sitting on his shoulder. So the genie says to the wino, "I've got to ask." He said, "I've been doing this job an awfully long time, and in all my years of doing this job, no one has ever asked me for a chipmunk before on the 3rd. Why the fuck did you ask me for a chipmunk?" And the wino said to the genie, "When I finish drinking all that wine, and I've used the empty box to get on the back of my big white horse, I'll be too drunk to go." Folks, you've been a fantastic audience. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for coming out.